annoy the player to no end. A lot of people know about these kinds of countdowns by now. I know that there are a lot of these lists, but why not share some of my picks? Alright, let's dive into this topic. Slick is the name of an enemy from the game SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom for the PS2. So how do you deal with these monsters? Well, they shoot oil at the floors, making them incredibly slippery. And you thought ice levels were bad? Walking on ice, much easier than walking on oil. Hurting them can also be a pain since they have force fields made out of oil, which let them take an extra hit, and it's tricky to hit them without taking damage. Even when you try to attack them from afar, their force fields might go back quite instantly, or because they can attack from afar, that might not do you any good. These enemies are also found in high platforming segments, and they'll try to knock you off them. At least Sandy can use her lasso to kill them instantly, but with SpongeBob, these things are living torture. Oh, and do I need to mention its introduction cutscene? See that? That guy slid off a platform into boiling acid. For kids, right? I complained about the level Kamek's Revenge and how annoying the enemies there are, but neither Kamek or the baseball boys are on here because in this situation, it's mostly about location. Other times, they're not that bad. Bumpties, on the other hand, have got to be the most annoying enemies in the game. They may not be able to hurt you, but they're more annoying than the enemies that can hurt you. If you bump them, they will bounce you around like a pinball. And bumpties are mostly encountered on slippery land or on gaps, so they'll likely make you slide off them, resulting in a one-hit kill if you're not careful. I don't really mind ice physics, but when these guys are in the ice levels, it'll make your life miserable. You can eat them, but you can't swallow them. Why not? Well, you can eat them in Yoshi's Story, but not in the Yoshi's Island trilogy, so the easiest way to kill them is to either spit them off a cliff or spit one at another enemy. Or just roast them with Baby Bowser's fireballs, there's that, but that's only in Yoshi's Island DS. Oh, but you can hit them with your eggs, as long as you have enough. The flying bumpties are the most annoying types since they can very easily knock you out of the sky. Oh man, do I hate fission Metroids. We know how annoying Metroids are and the fact that once they latch onto you, they'll start draining your health, severely hindering your movement. Fission Metroids not only do that, but you can barely kill them unless you use a power bomb, which are not very common in the game. Otherwise, if you try to kill them, they will multiply instead of dying. Oh goody! We get the Metroids we all know and hate, but now they multiply. Good idea, right? And when you first encounter them in the impact crater, we already get an infinite amount of them spawning out. The only thing that keeps them from being any higher is the fact that they can explode if they drain too much energy, but don't take your chances. Pikmin is full of enemies that are bound to make you rage. Whether it be the swooping snitch bugs for grabbing your Pikmin and throwing them into the ground, the sheer grubs for chewing up the bridges that took forever to build, or the bulbarbs which can eat your Pikmin. But if I had to choose one, it would have to be the puffy blowhogs. Their main method of attacking is to blow your Pikmin all over the place, which can be really annoying, especially if your non-blue Pikmin are next to water. Even if your Pikmin don't land anywhere, it'll stun them. You can also blow your Captains around until you get the rush boots in Pikmin 2. Puffy blowhogs are at their worst in the original Pikmin because they can both deflowerize your Pikmin and blow them farther away than they can in the other two games. Puffy blowhogs overall are super annoying. Kid Icarus Uprising is a very fun game, and while I don't regard it as my favorite 3DS game like most people do, it's definitely one of them for being a very addicting game that has some clever jokes in them. So why do the Mimic Cuties exist? I know that enemies disguised as items are common in video games, but look at the design. This is one of the stupidest looking enemy designs I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not as one of their jokes, but if it is, I think we've finally come across the rare time where this game has an unfunny joke. Yeah, you heard that right. I talked down on one of this game's jokes. That doesn't mean I hate the other jokes in the game. Okay, I'll talk about the fights with them. Their method of attacking is where they attack you in a flurry of kicks. Not only do they not let you move, but this attack is so hard to avoid, and the insane amount of health that they have makes you wonder if it's possible to kill them or not. Thankfully, you never have to kill them. Wait, you have to kill them in Chapter 24? Oh, come on! Now, would you believe that Sakurai is including them in Smash Run of the next Smash Brothers? The next entry isn't just one enemy, but more than one. Territorial Oaks, Atomic Power Robots, Hostile Elder Oaks, and Nuclear Reactor Robots. The reason these guys are on here is not for something that they were programmed to do, but because of a somewhat notorious glitch. After you kill these enemies, they explode on you, and the explosion is powerful. If you're both killed at the same time by this explosion, the game will glitch up and you will get 4,294,940,287 experience points. That sounds like it'll make the rest of the game pathetically easy, but bear with me. Whether you're cool with challenges or not, you do not want to do this because this will cause your game to freeze up. Thankfully, this glitch never happened to me, but it would have if I didn't know about this glitch prior to playing the game. But how are people supposed to know about this glitch? After a while, you'll be strong enough to withstand the Territorial Oak's power, but be careful with the Nuclear Reactor Robots. These enemies would have been number one if I hadn't known about the glitch before I played the game, so I knew that I'd have to run away from them. Except running away from them is a pain since it's really difficult to escape battles in this game. The Zelda series have multiple enemies that are guaranteed a spot on the most annoying enemies list. It was difficult to choose, but I'd have to go with the Like-Likes. Like-Likes attack by eating you. Guess what happens when they eat you? They also eat your shield if you have the highest upgradable shield. At least in some games, once you kill them, you get your shield back, but in the 8-bit games, you don't. Meaning that you have to buy it back for around 100 rupees. In Ocarina of Time, if you're wearing the red or blue tunic, they eat that too, so you have to kill them to get it back. Minish Cap also has these enemies called Rupee-likes, which will disguise themselves as rupees only to steal your rupees if you get too close to them. Don't you dare go near these things or else you'll be messed up. The thing that keeps them from being any worse is that if you attack them from a distance, you won't have much to worry about as long as they don't come too close. It's fun catching a lot of Pokemon, but some Pokemon are highly annoying to capture, especially Kangaskhan. You know about how in the Safari Zone, the place where you can't bring your Pokemon in to weaken the wild Pokemon, you're forced to use the Safari Balls instead of being able to choose whatever Pokeballs you want? And how the rarer a Pokemon is, the harder it is to capture and the more likely it is to run away? Yeah, this Pokemon is one of the rarest. It's probably the hardest to capture and the most likely to run away. In the Kanto and Sinnoh games, they can only be captured in the Safari Zone or Great Marsh. I mean, at least Pokemon like Chansey and Rhyhorn can be captured later in Cerulean Cave. Pinsir and Scyther, they can be purchased at the game corner. Tauros? Well, both Tauros and Kangaskhan have the same catch rate. In the Sinnoh games, Tauros is found with the use of a Poke Radar, which is different, but at least you can use Ultra Balls against it. Kangaskhan is not a bad Pokemon. It's just overall completely annoying to catch. Thankfully, Kangaskhan's more fair to catch in Pokemon Black and White. Fireframes and Alloys. I can forgive the fact that wireframes and alloys are meant to be a challenge to test your skill. I mean, I can see why we have the 100-man mode and the endless mode, and I can somewhat forgive the cruel mode, but the 15-minute mode is just unacceptable. How do you expect people to survive for 15 minutes, being ganged up on by these guys and not die once? Your best bet is to use Donkey Kong and repeatedly use his down special to shake the ground and send everyone flying when they get near you. You know what that requires? For you to mash the button for 15 minutes. Of course, you can pause, but let's be honest. Do you really want to have to put up with this? And the enemy AI becomes stronger as time goes on. What I find to be the worst of the two is the 15-minute melee from Super Smash Bros. Melee. In Brawl, you don't have to in order to lock everything, but only the green alloy trophy. In Melee, you have to in order to unlock the original version of the Congo Jungle stage. This is made worse with Melee's terrible save system. If you play the game too much, it erases your save progress. You have to do everything all over again, which of course includes the 15-minute melee. That's inexcusable. That makes them what I find to be the most annoying video game enemy ever. Now I'm gonna go play some games. Darn it! I found an enemy even worse than the alloys and wireframes! Let's recap this headache-inducing topic before we get to what I find to be the most annoying enemy in video games. Number 10, Slick. Number 9, Bumpties. Number 8, Vision Metroids. Number 7, Puffy Blowhards. Number 6, Mimicuties. Number 5, any enemy that explodes in Earthbound. Number 4, Lights. Number 3, Kangaskhan. And number 2, Wireframes and Alloys. Shield Dragons. Shield Dragons are without a doubt the most annoying enemies I have ever faced. They are utter abominations of enemies that need to be sealed away forever. Attacking them can be infuriating because if you hit them with a magic attack, it will reflect off them and hit your characters instead. If you hit them with a physical attack, they will counter with Bone Snap, which will muddle your characters and turn them against you. This can only be cured by being physically attacked. You can attack your own characters, but sometimes your attacks will be so powerful they'll kill your muddled characters. Of course, you can revive them by taking up an opportunity you could have used to attack him, but that's even worse when it zombifies your characters and muddles them at the same time because they can't be killed in this state. Which, trust me, them being unconscious is at least better than being turned against you and being unkillable. You can use Holy Water, but that also takes up a turn. At least Shield Dragons can get hit by summons and ninja techniques without any penalties. They take off such a small chunk of their insane health. What's your best strategy to beat them? To use Carbuncle to coat your party in a barrier and then cast powerful spells on your party to reflect it off them and damage the Shield Dragon. Even then it will prove to be aggravating. The Flare Spell is their weakness, so you might want to cast that. Even then, you need a Black Mage of the highest level. They're found at the Sealed Castle, which you have to visit 4 times in the game to get the 12 weapons. I wouldn't mind that if it weren't for these overgrown lizards. And they're one of the few enemies in the game that you can't escape from, so there's only 2 ways out of this. Either kill yourself and have to collect the weapons again, or force yourself to take the strategy and take up even more time. You heard that right. Defeating this enemy takes longer than having to make it to the weapons chamber and choose the weapons. That's just sad. I've held the L and R buttons for the same time for probably a whole minute and they still won't let me escape. I was going to put the ghost enemies from the original Final Fantasy because of how they can paralyze you and spam the move until you die, but at least you can escape from them, and they can be knocked out by strong enough magic. Bone Dragons, on the other hand, you can't escape from them and their weakness still takes a long time to kill them. And what's your price for being forced into the ultimate test of patience? 5 measly job points. That's it. Nothing more than that. While the 15-minute melee was required for you to beat the game, at least beating it unlocked a decent stage. This only rewards you with 5 job points. There are more forgiving enemies that give you 20 job points, but these enemies only give you 5. I swear, you see this footage? This is the exact same battle I've been showing you throughout the entire entry. It's literally 7 minutes long, and I haven't been repeating any footage. All these annoyances combined make for my #1 most annoying video game enemy. I'm Meta572, and Shield Dragons deserve to go extinct.